are vacant. So yes, and that's not a surprise. That's not something that's a surprise. Any large organization that's big that size is going to have vacancies. But the benchmark practice in industry, and I've talked to a number of businesses here, and certainly the federal government as well, but we have many things we can improve on, is you don't get 100% budget for every position you have. That's tying up capital that you're never going to execute. And that's how we end up with these big, huge balances at the end of every year. $11 million of the school boards was under executed payroll for whatever reason. Ours is way more than that. It's like close to $20 million of under executed salaries and benefits because we over budget to start with. We know historically we never spend that. And Robert was the other day, I asked Kathleen Light Selector, and she says, oh yeah, we use that, and she actually used these words. Well, that's our, I couldn't believe what she said, that's our slush fund at the end of the year that we can use for capital projects. And she actually said that. She's now working for Norfolk, but nonetheless, she didn't do that. But you can go back and watch this on video. This is like, Star Trek. You go back and watch the video and see it like it was real, because it was. But my point being is, that money either one should be being deployed toward a requirement that we have that we will expend, or it should be going back to the people that earn it. But we're consciously appropriating money, knowing that it will not be expended for the purpose for which it's appropriated, which means there's no underlying resource requirement. And again, that is misleading, and I think personally shameful. And I bring it up as you know, as Ms. Abbott knows, all the time. And they're like, well, yeah, we know. And then someone had the audacity, I won't say who, but Wonder Boy, saying that it would impact our credit rating. Love it. Oh. Now, if you're telling me that the bonding agents are going to reduce our credit agent rates because we are no longer going to over budget our labor expense, I'd like to see them put that in writing. And that's the only thing that allows us to get a AAA bond rating is because we over appropriate for labor costs. I mean, what nonsense is that? But that's the kind of rhetoric that you hear. Why? It's deflection. It's deflection. Because we're taking money we don't use. So once again, I'm going to suggest that we apply a lapse rate of 2% and only budget the positions at 98%. That still allows you some float, and that frees up about $8, $9 million. If I get the final numbers, that's a lot of money. That goes a long way to dealing with pay compression for firefighters and police officers. And while we do pay, and I want people to know this, the facts are the facts. We do pay our police officers and firefighters. They're the highest paid people in the region. That's just a fact. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't pay them more or pay them. That doesn't mean that. It just means that we are the highest payer in the region. At the same time, we have the highest and best results in the region, which is positive. And so, much like we do in the military, rather than paying costs that drive up your retirement costs, I think we should look at what we call continuation of service. You give people lump sum amounts of money every year for results, but you don't pay that when they're not working, so you don't have a retirement bill that goes with it. Because our VRS retirement liabilities are huge. They're like 23% of every dollar that we have to pay someone. We give them $1, we got to put 23 cents in a retirement account. That is a big problem downstream. That is a huge problem. And then, of course, we also have to make up for the underperformance of the plan in the past. So half of our contribution to VRS is to make the plans actuarially whole, meaning to make up for underperformance versus liabilities in the future. And the school board and the city combined payment, makeup payment, is $55 million in the current budget. That's roughly 10 cents of real estate tax. So why I mention that is because when I talk to public employees, and I hope there's some here, I often say is, no one in the private sector has that kind of guarantee. So that is in-kind contribution. It is a sacrifice our residents make, because I think they value what the people of Denver Lake do for our community. We have great public service. But that, in fact, by guaranteeing their future performance, their future payout, that is compensation and needs to be recognized as compensation, a risk mitigation factor that no one in the private sector enjoys. And I think that does show their appreciation for what our school teachers and what our police officers, and I mean, people pick up trash, all our decorated employees do a great job. But we also have to be mindful that they have to be mindful as well about the total compensation package. Would all of us like to make more money? Absolutely. Has every household in the United States as a whole, is it a fundamental problem with stress? It is. But we can't solve it by raising taxes on the many to redistribute to the few. We have to grow the economy. And you don't grow the economy by subsidizing retail. You don't grow the economy by subsidizing apartments. And you don't grow the economy by subsidizing low-wage jobs. And that's what we have been doing in large part. What City View, the Cavalier Hotel, you name these projects are not delivering high-wage jobs. But give credit where credit's due. We did land a significant job that will place, and with a small amount of subsidy, to be honest with you, from our part, state was a bigger contributor, was Global Technology Systems. That's 1,100 jobs. Some of them were already here. That's fair. They're moving to other places. But still a net gain of hundreds of jobs, averaging 77,000. We need more home runs like that. That is the kind of development that we need. Now I'm going to turn a little bit about schools, and Dan's heard me say this many times, is we deliver a product about, well, it used to be about half the price, but now it's a little bit less than that, but certainly at a much lower price than our private sector competitors. I mean, substantially less. And we serve the full spectrum of students to boot, which disproportionately consume resources out of the tail. I think that's a fair statement to make. But does a great job. And you can see from the free and reduced lunch, we are having to address a population that comes from home with increasing challenges, which often comes with resource requirements, unfortunately. But that is, so there is a less than full disclosure. There's a ticking, a little time bomb here. I think that Dan would agree in terms of we are, just like we didn't invest in the proper maintenance on flooding, and then when it gets here, the cost of fixing the maintenance gets huge. There is I think, if you were doing disclosure, we have a tremendous unfunded liability relative to what the real requirement is for our schools in terms of recapitalization. But no one wants that to compete with the pier or the dome site. And it doesn't matter that the TIP fund can provide the revenue to pay the debt service. Because once that debt service is consumed, that capacity to borrow is gone. Which means now I don't have the debt, under our current policy, which we say is what preserves our bond rating, I don't have the capacity to borrow to do those projects. And they'll tell what they told Jessica and I a year ago is, oh, John, if we did your program, we did what you want to do, it would lower our bond rating because you're borrowing so much money. Well, in reality, it didn't borrow up to the policy limit. What they were really saying is, well, if we do this for flooding, we won't have money for our stuff.
Right.
Which is
shiny stuff.
Which is, I'll quote here, time for special interest, time for public interest to become for special interest. That's our public interest. We have real hard requirements for flooding. We have real hard requirements for schools. And what is our biggest dissatisfaction besides flooding in the city of Virginia Beach? Jessica knows, it's roads.
Yep.
Now, I want to do a bond referendum for roads, because I think if we're going to borrow money, the people ought to have a right to say if they want to borrow it or not. We use a development authority to make sure we don't have to ask you to borrow money. It costs us about 50 basis points, maybe 25 basis points more to borrow it that way, because it's not GOB day. But it's their way. We're now building schools and fire stations, things that when that legislation was created, no one ever thought the development authority would be used to circumvent the city's charter. But it is. It means we can borrow money and we don't have to get your permission. And it's a lot of money. A lot of money. How about like $17 million? So I have to admit, I voted for some of those because I got to get some things done, but is it the way I want to get things done? Because sometimes you just know you got to get the things done and you move on. Other times you just say, principle, no, I can't vote for that. I'm not voting for that. And that's what I said about field house. They want to build a field house, build it with cash. Tell us how much cash flow and how much this big surplus you're going to have in the tip fund, then pay for that with cash. Use cash to do that with. So these are, I think, the challenges. So I am going to come forward and try to do this. I can working on it to get an alternative budget. Bobby and Jessica, we're going to meet this on Sunday afternoon. Jessica and I are to go through there. Where can we find the offsets? Well, in large part, you have three big expenses in the city. Labor being the biggest one. I think we can find maybe $8, $9 million there. Then we're going to have to go and take a look at CIP. I already found $1.5 million in Parks and Recreation. We can use to go through some things. Because it doesn't take a lot. We have 386,000 vehicles that actually pay license. We have a lot more cars than that. The military don't pay the license fee, and there's exempt vehicles and whatnot. So it's going to take about $900,000. About $900,000. So just under $1 million to offset the license increase of $2 a thing, because we're being charged, so we can't eat that cost. We have to pass it on to you in your rate. We roughly have 106,000 customers of refuge. So if you think about that, 106 times, dollar times 12, you kind of get the point. You're about $1.4 million right there, roughly, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's something to find. I think we can look at that and find that as well. So there's two things down. And now you got to go look at stormwater management. You got to look at what it takes to do pay compression. So I think in the end, if we can find somewhere looking around $14, $15 million, I think we can get down to something that the public could agree. I think we could do more if we had a more aggressive forward-leaning city council personally, but we don't. So we got to figure out what's hard for someone to say that can't be done, but it can. And my example, and I'll close with this and take questions, is a good example is when the city manager, and I'll give him credit on this, so the overall budget I think could have been leaner, when he said, I'm willing to take the ARP program to no further buying the property and put all the additional revenue flow into flooding projects. I thought that represented someone who was saying, hey, flooding is more important of homes than buying farmland against future development that's hard to take place in the budget anyway. I thought that was a smart move, and I commend him for that. Other things, but you gotta recognize goodness where there's goodness. But you can imagine that there was someone who said the world's gonna end, and farming's gonna end, and we won't have fresh food in our restaurants, and you would just think that, my gosh, the second coming was around the corner. But so let's just get off the emotional distraction and say, okay, great. When you were a proponent of light rail, you were willing and advocated taking that money. So I'm just saying, let's just take what we were willing to use for light rail, that all the members of council supported, who voted for light rail, and put that towards flooding. Because you've already done it before, and you said the risk was worth it. And clearly, flooding is as important, if not more important, than light rail. So let's get off the emotional boogeyman, the world is ending, and bring some common sense and say, keeping water out of someone's house today or tomorrow is more important than buying additional farmland that, under the current market conditions, isn't under threat for development to start. Let's just be honest about it. So I could go on, but I wouldn't be asking your questions. You can tell it's a topic I'm passionate about. But I'm only passionate because I believe that people have the first right to their money. And I have to be able to explain to you why the last dollar I take from you, that what I'm spending it on is truly so important that it's worth it. Because that's the trade-off. And the public requirement can't always be a higher priority than the private need. We have to strike a balance. And we can do a budget. And we can do what's necessary. We can't eliminate all the risk, but no one can in their real life. But can we do what families do at home? They can't go to their employer and say, I have to have a pay raise. Or I have to have this much of a raise. Or I got to do this. No, they can't. Because why? Because the business would do it if they could what? Pass it on in the marketplace and recoup it. Because they can't do what? They cannot confiscate revenue by the power of the state. And guess who that power really belongs to? To them? That's us. So if you want to know how to stop this, to bring some fiscal sanity and discipline and priority setting, then the stockholders of the company have to have a different board of directors who have a different sense of what life is really like out there in the real community for those households that are at least 40% with those children on free or reduced lunch. Those seniors that are out there, people that are working that extra job. I ran into a lady at the Farm Fresh that's closing, and she said she didn't know what I asked her what she didn't do next. She said, I don't know. She said, but I work this job just to pay the family cost of my health insurance where my husband works, because they only cover the individual, not the family. That is the Virginia Beach you people have to see. And just kind of emotional, but that's people that aren't on TV. They're not down there at City Hall saying, I want this, I want that. They're too busy trying to make ends meet, get their kids to school, take care of their elder parent, make a car payment, Lord knows, make child care payments, and they're saying, and they're just exhausted. And this budget that's proposed is really, not people will probably say this is a little bit emotional maybe, but it's cruel.
Yes.
Because all these fees are regressive, and it's putting the biggest burden on the people who can least afford it. And of course you'll say, well, it's only $92 a household. Well, if it's only $92, then
Absorb it.
put on your glasses and look in the mirror at yourself at the city manager, who makes more than the Secretary of Defense, so I really expect high performance, and find that $92 per household in your budget, and don't ask me to pay it.
Amen.
That should be the message. Yes, Bud.
I'm going back to what you talked about, retired people.
Yes, sir.
I've been retired 22 years, going 23. And I say to people, here's where my income is in, and here's what's going on. And that's exactly what you talked about. And only people who have been retired are being hurt by just what you talked about. Thank you for the way you look at it.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been wondering, does the city really survives on property tax? And with retail being hit because of all the online stuff, and we're seeing businesses in Farm Fresh and other businesses closing, how much of the commercial property tax is being affected because of this situation? And is more of the budget being shifted to residential type property tax?
In 1986, gosh, this takes me back. I was at King's Grant Elementary School on the stage at a candidates forum. Linwood Branch was on the stage as well, and Barbara Henry and Nancy Parker. And at that point in time, the real estate portion, which is 28% of our budget today, it's a smaller percentage of our overall budget than it was in 1986, was about 82%, something like that, was residential, and the balance was commercial. You're rolling forward today, it might be 78, it's close, 80, 78, 80%. It's about the same proportion, relatively speaking. So I would say that it hasn't changed in a material way, distribution. Barbara's going to look up the number for me there. But it has materially changed. And one, that shouldn't surprise people, number one, because your home isn't taxed on an income basis. Your real estate assessment isn't based on your income, it's based on how it's sold. I mean, what it's sold for, sell prices. Commercial stuff is done not on what the property sold for or not, but on the basis of the income that it generates, an income method. So when homes were going up double digits in the boom, hotels were not going up double digit. Businesses weren't going up double digit because they're taxed in a different way. But there has been substantial stuff. But when you think that a lot of the stuff that we have built, big dollar stuff, town center, none of that adds to the general tax base. None. Zero. Because that real estate taxes goes to pay for garages, other amenities, and I know the mayor's house generates us $8 million, but when you discount the police officers, discount all the extra services, discount. Like, I'm not certain that it generates that much, you might have been better off with a big box retailer. I don't know, but a full cost analysis